So congratulations on this project. You did a fantastic job in covering this. K-pop isn't easy to cover. Management seems to block a lot of coverage, especially international. What obstacles did you have in creating this documentary?
Well, it needs to be said right from the bat, or right off the bat, that we tried our best in every way we could to pursue the management companies to
Mhm.
be able to, discuss with them the level of authenticity that is in the live performances and on television. I think it's fair for any observer to want to know, hey, are they singing for real or
Mhm.
not? Regardless of the choreography, which by the way is great, no doubt about it, but there's, as you see in my movie, there are parts of the concerts where clearly choreography is not that important,
Mhm.
and there's still a heavy backing track. So I think there can be a natural evolution, I think, of the girl K-pop music, speaking purely about the girls, where they can plan their concerts and their TV performances where they're singing as much as they possibly can when they're not doing the choreography numbers. But the choreography numbers, everybody's going to give them a break on that. But when you establish that you are that singer from the studio early on the concert, maybe on a couple of numbers that are not so choreographed, I think that would be a great idea. And that's kind of what I'm saying throughout the movie. I'm very much a huge fan of the girls. I mean, I just saw Espa yesterday after the my Jets, the New York Jets played. Ironically, I mentioned that a little bit in the movie. I'm from New York, so the Jets played on Thursday Night Football. They're the entire end of the game. They're hyping Espa is going to be playing live
Mhm.
after the game, and after you wait long enough, there they are, and right off the bat, I mean. I'm not going to say who on stage did it, but right away in the first number, with a close up, so close on the girls, they're going to see lip syncing.
Mhm.
So, coming from a television background, again, you have to remember the director who's shooting the live performance. If he's close up on a girl and she misses that lip sync just a little bit, it's kind of glaring. So I'm a
Mhm.
big fan. I want them to be respected for their abilities, but I think at some point there needs to be better handling of the girls by the management companies and not leave them out there high, kind of high and dry. Hey, there they are admitting they're singing without a natural flow. That's not great. So I'm not going to point to any one part of last night's show, but I think if anybody watched the live performance last night of Espa, and Espa is one of my favorite groups, let's be clear.
Mhm.
I think Winter is unbelievable, Karina unbelievable, Giselle unbelievable. They're all great, all of them, all four of them.
Mhm.
But the problem is I know they're great. So when I see them perform with so much help, I go, why? Why? Because they're afraid of making a mistake, and we'll get into that, I'm sure. Yeah, that's part of it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Going into your knowledge of K-pop, how much did you know going into this documentary about the behind the scenes as opposed to how great these idols are because they're phenomenal. They're talent that they're once in a generation talent. All each one of them, and they're in a group. So, how much did you know about the behind the scenes going into this, and how much do you know now that you've completed this documentary?
Well, that's a great question. I came in purely as a fan. Unlike a lot of other subjects I've covered for network television, mysteries, whatever, I took this much more as a labor of love. I looked at it like these girls are great. I came across a couple of other groups. I dug deeper, and I could not wait to see them live. So, in that enthusiasm, I decided to produce the project.
Mhm.
I think I expected there to be some controversy, but I also was hoping the management companies would recognize what I'm saying, that as they get more popular and as television goes from Korea and then around the world, many more people are going to see them in close up live performances. And I was hoping, almost like a manager of my own, self, hey, I'm hoping they're going to be handled right because clearly they have the chops. They can do it. Can they do it without some live missteps? Sure. But I know some of the behind the scenes stories that have gone on with K-pop
Mhm.
has been over this issue. But I was just hoping overall that I'd see more natural live singing even if there was some flub somewhere. But I guess you're right. My research told me that's probably not going to happen, but I was hoping it would. I would. I was hoping.
Definitely. For a lot of these idols, they're expected to handle very heavy loads. It's not just there's different levels of idols for in K-pop, but most of them are expected to not just do live performances, but promotion for singles,
Right.
which
Yeah,
singles are constantly coming out because physical sales are very important in K-pop.
exactly.
Um, they have to do promotion on live TV, which happens a lot in Korea, and as well as a lot of these are idols are also actors who are in
Right.
K-pop dramas, in K-dramas. How much did that play into how much did that you take into consideration everything that they have to do in order to get that idol status?
I looked into it greatly in terms of the teaching and the training and all the things that are required. That's why we went to the school that we showed in the movie. We wanted to make sure we were hearing it from the people that were doing the training, even here in America. And I wanted the viewers, and that's why I hope people who love K-pop check out my documentary because there's a lot of incredible ability here, but there's also an interesting business model here. And the business model seems to be a very protective one. Now, when
Mhm.
you're talking about some of the K-pop dramas, I did get contacted just by someone yesterday, actually, who told me his son, excuse me, who told me his daughter was very interested in K-pop
Mhm.
and the K-pop dramas. So she, the daughter, was interested in both the K-pop dramas and the K-pop music. You know, the K-pop dramas being not K-pop dramas, but Korean dramas with
Mhm.
K-pop girls are in it. I didn't know how many, and I really still don't know how many of the idols that I covered in my movie are in Korean dramas. Maybe you could tell me. I'm not even sure how many. I didn't look into that as deeply as I probably could have or should
Uh,
have.
Most of the main idols in groups are involved in K-dramas, so it's usually a lot of them. Their workload is incredible. I think that's why a lot of these idol groups don't last as long. I mean, here in the US and in the UK, when you go into rock and other stuff, you have bands that have gone for like 70 years.
Become a big. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen that in any idol group as of yet. Do you have any knowledge if how long a K-pop group lasts?
Oh boy, I think you can glean this from some of the work we did on our documentary. I mean, they get trained early on,
Hmm.
very early, early talking 11, 12, 13 years old. They're not allowed to even hit the stage maybe till they're about 19 or 20. And then their lifespan as a K-pop idol might be into their middle 20s, maybe
Hmm.
into like maybe mid late 20s. I know that the woman who is the star of the K-pop Demon Hunters,
Hmm.
group Huntress, she, the main lead singer, she bemoans the issue that she knew she was too old now to be a
Hmm.
K-pop. She's very young. It's amazing that she's too old now, and that's like sports, I think, in a lot of ways. You get to a certain point where you're not considered to be the prime candidate for these roles. But I think that's a mistake. And I think there are going to be a lot of girls who come out of K-pop, like Genie in Blackpink.
Hmm.
There's no doubt that others from Blackpink are showing that as well already. So I think what we're looking at now is probably girls not only going to K-dramas, but even going into becoming singular soloists. And
Hmm.
that's what I was trying to point to toward the end of the movie. As you'll see, the singers from Blackpink, who had really an early start of getting so famous, they're coming out one by one by one. And I think it's really important. Maybe we'll see that, I do.
Um, K-pop is just getting its emergence right now in the US. It's still it's in its infancy here. People are barely adapting to it. Like you said, K-pop Demon Hunters came out and kind of took the world by storm. It's still, I believe, on the charts now. It's been
Huge,
a while.
huge.
Um,
It's huge.
how much if you making this documentary, how much did that affect the way you made it? Because you seem to take a very unbiased view into the industry.
First of all, I think the music is changing American music greatly. I wanted to make that point in the movie right away, whether it be Sabrina Carpenter. I left out a second ago Rosie. Rosie or Rose, she
Hmm.
goes by. I'll go by the way she was covered on the Tonight Show. I think it was. She says Rosie, Rose, whatever. I
Hmm.
think Rosie is showing that she can be almost like not a folk singer, but like a real down to earth.
Hmm.
She reminds me of a couple of girls that played a lot in the 90s and 2000s. She has kind of a real soulful singing ability. It's you wouldn't even know sometimes, except for the song with Bruno Mars, maybe. You may not even know how much K-pop Rosie has in her. She's just like a singer. And that is now flowing, I think, into regular American music because I think it's fresher. I think we're seeing a fresh sound. Even Rosie, even Jeannie, the other girls that have gone somewhat soloist, they're bringing something that's kind of a fresh sound that's not just K-pop now. And I really want to make that point to them that I hope they make more of those type of solo albums because I'm a huge fan of that. I think that's
Hmm.
huge and affecting not just American music, Western music overall.
Hmm. K-pop, like you said, is affecting Western music a lot, but for K-pop fans in Korea, their love for their idols is incredible.
Hmm.
There's a lot of drama that goes on between idols and fans sometimes. Yeah, I've seen news stories about stuff that fans do that is just obsessive. Um, what kind of response are you thinking you're gonna get from a documentary like this? Because you don't take a negative stance on it, but you do present a lot of information that fans aren't necessarily going to be happy with.
I think it's a great question. You can see in the movie, we interview these two great girls from
Hmm.
China, and they say it very clearly at the concert. A perfect performance is what they're looking for. That's great. You can still go to the concert after watching my film
Hmm.
and then say, okay, great. It's a live show. It's exciting. It'll look perfect, but you'll be aware that there's some technological magic that's allowing that to occur. And I don't think it's bad for people to know that. I think it's important for them to know that
Hmm.
because again, especially with cameras live and zooming in on girls,
Hmm.
that's sort of unfair. If I was their older brother, if I was their dad, I would not like the camera right on a girl or even a guy singer singing of K-pop with their lip syncing or so much background. We call it as you AR.
Hmm.
You want to call it splits, whatever. If you have 70% of the sound coming and it's not your voice, it's the backing vocal, and you miss it by just maybe a fraction of a second because you are moving, whatever, you'll see that.
Hmm.
And then it may become a question in the person's mind, how perfect is this really? So there's a lot of ways the technological stuff could be handled mixed in with better planning of how the songs are rolled out during the show, even live TV, where you'd minimize that and there wouldn't be any need for a discussion like this.
Hmm.
So people should remember that I'm not really pointing out this issue. Fans are pointing this issue out.
Hmm.
I'm just a reporter mirroring back what many fans from Korea to here are saying. If they can sing great and they can sing and dance great, let's just try to make it a little bit more real. That's all, a little more real, and be honest about it because it's pretty self-evident. So that's all. But my point was never try to put them down, never.
Hmm.
Just trying to elevate to what this really is. It's a great performance, but I think a lot of it has to be basically, I think, tailored toward live and camera coverage. Because if you don't do that, you're raising the specter of fans to get a little upset. And that's what's happening.
Definitely. You talk a lot on this documentary about your love of music and, the Beatles, Pink Floyd. Yes, all these amazing bands. How do you compare that music to what you're seeing now with K-pop?
It's interesting you're asking that because I did compare it. And so my point of comparing it was those groups I came to see as a young guy and go see up until my later in life too. They toured a lot. It was all about matching the studio album.
Hmm.
Every fan came, 20,000 people came, just like they came to these concerts. But we were hoping to see the group do it live, like it's on the album. And maybe the Grateful Dead and some other groups like that. older groups like that jam a lot. That's fine. That's a different kind of representation. But some bands that are very well orchestrated, a little bit the analogy would be orchestrated in the studio, just like you choreograph in the dance
Hmm.
practices. But when you come out and you try to do both, maybe you want to try to match the album singing and do it more naturally real, a little more. My whole point was do a little more. You can't compare the two genres, of course, but you can make some analogies here. And I think there are some analogies. I'm not saying every single note and vocal song was never aided by a little bit of background something or other. But let's face it, if that became a thing of fans. Hey, these groups are not really playing live. They're piping in their music, piping in then fans would never have paid to see them as much as they did. So I'm wondering how this will shake out. But by no means am I trying to say they're comparable. They're not exactly comparable, but like I said, you can make some analogies. You can.
Definitely. If by chance you would happen to get the studios for, I mean, the management team for these K-pop bands to respond to you and maybe talk to you a little bit more, is there any hope to get a sequel to this where we get more in depth into their business thinking or more in depth into how these idol bands, continue on for after their lifespan?
It's a great question. I was asked recently by a journalist,
Mhm.
what would I like to see from this? I even kind of hinted at it at the end of the documentary. I would love it if the management companies would come to me and say, look, as an observing journalist, as someone who's on major television and other things like that, we'd like to work with you. We'd like to have you come go behind the scenes with us and not be a perfect, controlled, where it's their documentary, it's promotion, it's advertising. But let's open it up a little bit. Let's make it a little bit more open and give and take a little bit. And even maybe I could almost imagine one of the heads of one of the management companies being interviewed and explaining, yes, we understand there are times that the background music, a background vocal might overtake and may even help the girls especially, but there's a benefit to it as well. And we're going to try our best to keep that in mind. And that would be, I think, great. I think it would attract a lot more people. And by the way, I don't know if you can charge $1,000 or $2,000 for a ticket if you're not going to address this issue. I'll bring up one singer that's not in my documentary. I think she goes by IU. I don't know how she pronounced it, but she's a very, very talented singer. And she'll sit there and sing in front of 20,000 people with just a piano. And she came from the K-pop world. She's clearly a K-pop singer, but she has now become this soloist that fills huge auditoriums with her microphone and sometimes just a piano. And there's one song actually is dear to my heart. It's an alien because I've done a lot of shows about UFOs and
Mhm.
mysteries like that. So there's a one they made a movie. IU made a movie, a little movie really, around this one song. And literally, it's like an alien invasion. It's very emotional. It's really well done. And when she sings that live, there's no background vocal, and she does it in a way where it really plays up to the video. So people should look into that. It's
Mhm.
a very fascinating offshoot of my documentary, looking into people that are actually now soloists singing in front of huge auditoriums, and there's no background vocals. You know what I mean? So there
Mhm.
are examples I would say to the management companies like IU, they can sing. Let them sing. Let them, you know what I mean? Let them go. Let them do their thing. And by the way, in that situation, when you watch IU do this live performance, I think it
Mhm.
was last year, mostly I saw it, where she's referencing the video. She's
Mhm.
referencing that, but she also recognizes she's live, she's singing, and it's really a unique situation. So I thought about putting that into the movie, but I didn't really have the right angle to do it. So
Mhm.
we did.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on this documentary. It's fascinating. You take a very nice stance and present information as fact, not as criticism. So thank you so much for the documentary and thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. I just want to add one thing. There's live original, not live, there's original music
Mhm.
in the movie. that's now available, and it's available on all the major sites. So the original music we created
Mhm.
that goes with the movie is also interesting. It's playing a lot at the end in the end credits. So
Mhm.
people want to go ahead and see that. Check it all out. We love it.